Howdy, Buzz. Welcome to Zoom.
Thank you, guys. I'll try to be a little better with my Zoom etiquette than I was against New Orleans. We have a computer now that was purchased in this decade, so I think I'm going to do better.
All right. Well, we'll start you off with Chip Howard from Sports Talk, and then we'll go to Travis Brown.
Buzz, was this a hard game to coach?
It was hard because we couldn't get our players to play hard enough in that regard. I thought Coach's team was much more competitive collectively than we were. I thought that they played harder every possession than we did. We're very fortunate, Chip, to have a chance to win. There over the last 6 or 8 minutes when we kept giving them the ball and we got a couple of offensive rebounds and were able to get to the free throw line. I thought that was kind of the edge specific to the game, but their competitive spirit in relation to ours, they won the game from start to finish for sure.
How concerned are you, and you're only 2 games in, about the turnovers?
Well, our turnover rate was worse tonight, as you know, than it was on Sunday. So it's significant. I think we had 73 possessions on Sunday with 19 turnovers. So that's a 26% turnover rate. Tonight we had 20 turnovers, and I would say it was probably the same pace of game. So we have to change that for sure. We didn't shoot the ball as well tonight as we did Sunday. That's a credit to Coach's team and how hard they play and the way that they contest every pass and dribble. But being able to make free throws helped us and somewhat saved us. But giving the team the ball a quarter of the time is not a good sign.
Thank you.
All right, next up is going to be Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle, and then Darryl.
Hey, Coach. I know, and kind of like what you mentioned there at the end, you said in past, when you have a low field goal percentage, you can kind of skew that in your favor by getting to the free throw line. How much of that was a concerted effort tonight, or just what's built into the system that, hey, shots aren't falling, so get to the charity stripe?
It was I think it's a little bit of both, Travis. I think our guys finally became aware of that was the most consistent thing that we were doing. Can we get them in some level of rotation and then have a chance to be fouled? And I'm not sure 4 of their guys fouled out. And so those pauses in action help our team play against so that our defense can be set. But at the same time, those matchups change when you have 4 guys foul out of the game. And so it's what we practice. It's what we talk about. But it was for sure what we were able to execute maybe the last 8 or 9 minutes of the game. I'm not sure when we got into the bonus in the second half, but in some regards, that's what saved us.
And then I know you've mentioned plenty of times that you don't necessarily like going against guys that you have relationships with, but was there a special moment getting to see Coach there on the other sideline?
Yeah, obviously I've never competed against Coach or coached the game against Coach. I've always worked for Coach. And so similar to what Chip said, I've just tried to stay away from the topic in a very personal/professional way. I don't want it to be about me, and I have so much respect for Coach and my relationship with him. And so I've tried to handle all of these questions the right way. I saw him before the game, Coach Reisman, who was the longtime coach at Tarleton, who's now the AD. I was an assistant in the Lone Star in 99, 2000, or actually, I guess it was 98, 99. And so I've known Coach Reisman has known me literally since I was a manager at Navarro. And so it was unique to be able to talk to them. I made sure that we took a picture with Coach G and Joe Fultz and Brian Davis, who were a part of our 2006 recruiting class. So obviously special moments before the game and even after the game. But I would prefer not to do it because it's obviously it's an uneasy feeling.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, next up is Darryl Brother from KBTX, and then Mike Lucas.
I'm trying to get this mastered, Coach. I'm sorry, I'm a little
No,
slow.
I give so much grace on Zooms because I have the same issues. So like, I'm not laughing at you, but what I'm seeing you do, I do it at an even slower rate. So all the grace needed.
I'm like, where the hell do I touch next? What I wanted to ask you is, I know you had the turnovers on Sunday, but you seemed to overcome that a lot easier than you did tonight. Were you surprised that kind of is still kind of hanging on?
A couple of things I would say on that, Darryl. Our turnover rate was the same, slightly worse tonight, but the counter to that would be we didn't force as many turnovers tonight as we did against New Orleans. And then the next thing is we made many more shots at a higher rate than we did on Sunday. And so it's not as aesthetically pleasing tonight as it was on Sunday. So it's a little bit of both, not only our issue offensively, but our defense didn't give us that same rate of return as what we had on Sunday.
And then a follow-up about Billy, because I know about your guys' history or whatever.
I remember you, Darryl, as well as I remember anybody that's ever on this screen other than Logan.
But what I wanted to ask you was there a point in time in the second half when he was up 10 and you were going, wait a minute, I invited him here?
Well, like I said on Sunday, and I think you were on Sunday, I've never told Coach no. I think as an assistant coach, you should always have a pen and a piece of paper to write down whatever they're about to tell you that you have to do. And I think you should always answer your cell phone on the first ring. And I think when you don't do those two things, it typically leads to unemployment. And then the third thing is you always say, yes, sir. And so in some regards, I was a good assistant in those three categories. And so when we were able to, the process of him getting the job, and then once he got the job, he was like, Buzz, you want to play? I answered the same way I've answered any question he's ever asked me. Yes, sir. And so they deserve to be up 10. And I continued to tell our guys in a lot of different ways, guys, if we don't figure out how hard they're playing and match it or try to do even more, they're going to beat us. And so maybe that answers your question, Darryl.
All right, let's go to Mike Lucas from KAGS. Then we'll finish up with Andrew.
Hey, Coach, I just wanted to ask about getting E-Man back today. Obviously had a big game in the stats. A lot of his points came from the free throw line. But what does he do for your team having him back, and what kind of versatility does he allow you to kind of have in your lineups?
Well, you could argue, Mike, that these two games have been the best two games that Save has ever had for us relative to his positive production in each of the statistical categories. And if we didn't have E-Man back tonight, we would not have won. As I mentioned to you guys the last time we spoke, he could have played on Sunday. I didn't think he was quite 100%. And we've kind of had a ramp up, shut him down, and then kind of had a planned ramp up with Eddie B relative to his body. I was not anticipating that he would be forced to play 34 minutes. But if he wouldn't have, we would not have been able to win the game. His spirit, I think, is what he does best. As I mentioned, and I may have said it in radio, not on this screen on Sunday. What he does best is he plays incredibly hard. And when his body is not right, then what he does best is not what he does best. And so that's why we shut him down. We didn't have to. He was upset with me, but I think that it was the right play, not only for this game, but in truth, I hope it was the right play long term.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll finish it up with Andrew from Gig'em 247.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, you mentioned your team falls down by 10 midway through the second half. Were you curious to see how they were going to respond to that? And if so, how did you think they kind of did, and what can they learn from that?
Not to be Pollyanna, Andrew, but I actually think a lot of the figurative fists that were thrown our way tonight will be really healthy for us. They competed much harder. Our kids are aware of that. They were much more competitive per possession on both ends of the floor than we were. And so if we can learn this lesson in game number 2 versus Tarleton, as opposed to losing 3 in a row in Orlando for the same exact reasons, then it was a good investment of our time and for a game. And so as much as I wish we would have responded initially with the same level of fight and courage that Tarleton played with, that we didn't. And then finally, over the last 8 or 10 minutes, quit turning the ball over, forced them into rotation, got to the free throw line, were able to get consecutive stops. We were able to achieve multiple turkeys as far as 3 stops in a row. I hope going forward, if we learn the lessons from tonight, then it was worth all of the stress that we were under for the first 32 minutes.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, that's all the questions we have for you, Coach.
Brad, how was my etiquette?
Oh man, you look great. You're right in the middle of the good.
Okay,
the
so
frame.
here's my question. So like when they ask a question, if my eyes go to find the person asking the question, then the camera sees my eyes not paying attention to the camera. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you're doing a fine job with what you
No, I
did
want to
this
do
time.
the best job, Brad. Happy
Coach,
Thanksgiving. See you guys.
We don't care where your eyes are when the question's
I know,
asked,
but I had
just
some
when you're asking it.
problems. I had multiple DMs and texts saying that my Zoom etiquette was really poor after Sunday's press conference. And when I watched it, partly because we were using a computer that they had when I was employed here the first time, I think this has helped. But I think when you're talking, Darryl, I think I still need to look at the camera and not look at you, because then it doesn't seem as though I'm paying attention. So I'm trying to do better.
I got multiple screens working, so I don't even know if I'm looking at you or not.
And that's why I don't think I should take advice from you on Zoom etiquette, because it took you 12 seconds to figure out how to unmute yourself.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes.